recommend a video that I found this morning just in my general sort of reviewing some of the stuff on YouTube. And so there's this BBC 4, Channel 4 out of England. They're not necessarily interested in what they would call our rebellion, right? Today, July 4th, is Independence Day. And so one of the things that always comes up for me around independence, freedom, is freedom from and freedom to. So the definition of freedom is, to simply be able to be you. And in this video that I watched this morning, it's really touched me deeply. This middle economy, middle class guy, plays soccer or football with his buddies. He's kind of a little paunchy, totally normal dude, and he happens to have a son who is a drag queen in England, where they drink their pints and they have the whole work of being just a man's man, and so I guess, I don't know about this until now, but there's a drag SOS, and so they go out and they find people that are drag queens, and people in their family are not all right with this expression of the self. And so they invite this father to kind of go through the transformation and walk in his son's stilettos, right? So, and there's some funny moments in here because it's a little difficult to take somebody's male honeypot and turn that into some high-end glamour that a drag queen kind of is an exaggerated expression of what it is to be feminine. And at one point in this video, you're watching this guy kind of put on glittery clothing and big ass wigs, and he's starting to get his Tammy Faye Baker, popular eyelashes on, and he has a very serious moment. One of the drag queens says to him, "So how do you feel right now?" And you can see it. It's rising. It's about to burst on the surface. He's starting to understand how his son felt all those years as a little boy, trying to kind of find his way, kind of find his resonance in his own body and his joy in his own body. And he realizes in that moment of deep courage and vulnerability, because I'm pretty sure that his soccer buddies are not slapping him on the back for this one. Not necessarily. I'm not just, it's probably tough for a guy who isn't interested in being a drag queen to try it on. And you watch this wave of emotion come over him, where he starts to understand the pain and the challenge that his son faced at 10. And his love for his child as a father rises for him. And he's broken open with the recognition that his son was probably lonely and frightened, and he might not have been there for him. And in those moments of knowing what it is to love someone and recognize how much fear they can experience, and loneliness, and a sense of not fitting in or not being all right with themselves because other people aren't, comes this wave of loving kindness and this compassion and this desire to do something about it. And I would say that for me is that super difficult spiritual practice of truly coming into someone else's experience with the seek to understand, to feel, not to think about, which is very different. Oh, I think that must be hard. No, to feel it and to reconcile yourself to wanting to curtail that pain, to do something about it. And so the freedom from living in fear that you're not acceptable as you are, whatever your radiant expression might be. And we all know that on some level, mild to fucking wild, we're all different and so similar. Love, pain, fear, not understanding. When we think about this day, this Independence Day, it started with wanting to be able to practice, to cut your hair whatever way, to live whatever way, to have what we would call maybe religious freedoms. And yet the Declaration of Independence starts with we. Not me, not I, we the people. And so there's an immediacy of the collective greatest and highest good that begins this document that is meant to guide us through our society. And so as we practice today, my encouragement to you is to move toward that courage and vulnerability, to step toward where we share discomfort. Where, I make this joke all the time, but it's true. Like, oh, this nipple's hairy and goes this way, and this nipple's not quite as hairy and goes this way. And, I'm constantly tit checking and trying to get it so that it lines up for the visual. Until I see it, I don't know that I got this going on, right? I don't feel it. I'm not like, oh my God, my nipples are at odds with one another, and the rest of the world, we got to do this. And I use that because it's funny to think about your nipple. It's like, there it is, down over there with a bunch of hair. We got you. We got you. You can't leave. Look, there's even a little spot. And so my encouragement in this practice today is, what do you want to be free from? Pain, sense of being on the outside of something, fear of loss, fear of being called out for being odd, right? Fear. I dare say that what we want to experience more is love, kindness, inclusion, tolerance, a willingness to say, like, you're fucking weird and I like you. I like what's not exactly the same about you, about me, because I can see in you the radiance of a different expression of the universe, and I want it around. And so moving away from this desire or the fear that makes us think we've got to be monochromatic. In Australia, it's called lopping the poppy. If your little head sticks up above the rest, there's a tendency to want to cut it off. Let's be our own height, our own color. Let's radiate that, and radiate behind it the love for it, not the fear of it or the oddness of it. And when we can embody the courage and vulnerability to be me as I am, squirrel cover across both thighs, down the leg like a pirate beard for my twat, I got that fixed, by the way. I'm kidding. Just kidding. You're like, wait, what? Pirate beard? Twat? She said what? But the idea being that there's something odd, unique, and wonderful about all of us. And our expressions are so needed as we are, not flattened out. So as we practice today, your asana is not going to look like the person's next to you. Don't play that comparative game. Don't strive or seek to express the posture in the way you think it would look like on the yoga calendar. Stick your fucking fingers out how you do it and revel in that, so that you can remember the joy that happens when we do that in a group of people that are willing to hold that space open for you, because they're waiting for you to hold it open for them. And slowly but surely, then we have this field of beauty. And that's our work. And so when we now talk about freedom from and freedom to, we're free to be me. You're free to be you. And then we can be happy together. And it takes a little personal discomfort. So as we practice today, I will remind you again and again, don't strive for the posture, the expression of the posture. Express the breath. Express you. Step into it. And then when you go out and into the world today, if there's somebody that makes you a little uncomfortable, I'm not saying you have to go up and totally squeeze them, pat them on the ass, and lick their face. But I might suggest opening a dialogue. Hey, how are you? Leave it open, see what happens. And then we carry this willingness to, like, I don't know what's going to come out of that person over there, but you know where you are. You're residing in the desire to be at peace and to be peaceful. Loving kindness. So we'll practice that way today. That doesn't mean it won't be hard or hot or irritating, but you're going to reside in steadiness and ease, so that we know how to do that when it's uncomfortable off the mat. I'll invite you to your feet.